Entrepreneur life requires risk, persistence, and a slightly unreasonable belief that this thing you're building is going to work.
And let's not forget copious amounts of caffeine.
Yes, that too.
Hey guys, I'm Allison, the Caffeinated entrepreneur, an AI-powered business strategist and systems builder with an energy level that should probably come with a warning label.
And I'm Bernie, the man behind the mustache. I'm a virtual events producer who makes sure the tech works, the delivery is clean, and nobody panics, including Allison.
Each week, we are picking up the conversation where my weekly newsletter leaves off. No teaching, no pretending we have it all figured out.
Just two entrepreneurs talking honestly about the highs and lows of growing our own businesses.
And why some ideas are worth sipping on a little bit longer. Welcome to the Caffeinated Entrepreneur. Let's go behind the brew. Hey guys, grab your favorite caffeinated beverage and join us for today's episode where we're going behind the brew of issue number 25, the cat poop coffee of branding. Hey, Bernie. So I know that our episode today is making you giggle, and I know not everyone can see, but go ahead and show and explain why that is today.
We've chatted about this a little bit behind the scenes. I find poop humor hilarious. Anything having
It's
to
a
do
man thing.
with
It's a man
bodily
thing.
functions, right? Poop, farting, burping, all of the things. And this is my coffee mug for today. Coffee helps me poop.
And he did not know this was today's topic,
I
guys.
had
This
no
was
idea. It was totally serendipitous. Love it.
It was. It was. So, okay, but let me give a little backstory because, like, that name of the newsletter, people are like, are you kidding me? So, backstory. I was actually on a coffee chat with a woman who is a branding strategist, and we were talking about like making your branding stick out so that you don't get lost in the noise. And she knows that I was a coffee person, and she's like, oh my gosh, have you ever had Kobe Luwak coffee? And I was like, I don't even know what you're talking about. It is Indonesian coffee that is made from beans that come from cherries eaten by, I think they're civet cats. I think that's the way you pronounce it. The beans are then collected after they pass through the animal, AKA pooped out. They are cleaned and processed and then turned into coffee, right? And so people pay, I kid you not, $100 a bag for these coffee beans. I don't know if it's because the taste actually matters or if it's the story they're buying, but they're doing it, right? So, I mean, let's just say it, Bernie. Would you do it? Would you drink the cat poop coffee?
Obviously, part of me, the part of me that says drinking anything that has poop in it or that has touched poop is a hard pass. But I am really interested to try cat cat poop coffee.
Maybe at some point we'll have to we'll split the bag, right?
Yeah.
Like we'll 50-50 it because it's not cheap. And I'm like,
No, it's not.
what if it's
It's not.
horrible? I'll
But I'd really like to know what's so special about it, honestly. Like, is it the flavor? Is it the story? Like, what actually is the draw about it?
Okay, which leads us perfectly. It's as if you read notes on what we're doing today. Leads us perfectly into what exactly that it is that I want to talk about. So let's just, besides this one, because we never had it, what is a brand that you love and you can't fully explain why, but you willingly pay more for whatever it is that you buy from it that you could get anywhere cheaper? Like you could get it at Walmart, but you're buying brand name. What is it?
Well, for me, I would probably say it's more designer clothes, brand name clothes. You know, I love Nike, I love Adidas, North Face, all of those brand names because I don't know, I don't necessarily feel like I'm any more active by wearing it, but I feel like
Other people think you are.
yeah, maybe other people think I am. But the one that definitely comes to mind in line with the coffee is Starbucks, right? Like people pay out of their nose to go to Starbucks.
And I love that you
It's not
brought that up because
crazy.
I'm a total snob against Starbucks. Unless I have to go somewhere to sit down and use my computer, I actually don't like Starbucks near as much as I like Dutch Bros. I
Hmm.
am a lover of all things Dutch Bros. Now, here's a funny story, okay? The reason why I love it is because of the atmosphere. Even though it's drive-through and you can't sit and hang out. The very first time Joel ever took me, I think it was like the second time I was ever in California, and it's called Dutch Bros. I kid you not. The kid who took our order and made our coffee the entire time kept going, Hey, bro, how's your night going, bro? What you guys doing tonight, bro? Got plans for the weekend, bro? Hey, I think he said bro. Maybe every 5 words he said bro. I kid you not. I thought it was part of the thing. Like I thought he had to say it. So we're driving away and I almost can't stop giggling. And Joel's like, what is wrong with you? And I'm like, I can't believe how many times he worked the name of the company into that conversation. And Joel's like, babe, this is California. That's just how they talk. It's like, nah, ah. So I, of course, just thought that was hysterical. And then, but every Dutch Bros I've ever gone to, though, the vibe, they're so friendly. They always have great music playing. Like,
Mm.
I like it when you go into a Starbucks, I almost feel they're like, are you really good enough for our coffee? Do you have $12 to spend on a medium latte? Or sorry, you can't even call it a medium, right? It's a
Right,
grande.
right. That's right.
Like,
They have their own language. Yeah.
yeah. And I feel like, so for me, the brand of Starbucks is stuck up,
Mm.
whether their coffee is good or not. And I like Dutch Bros because I feel like the brand is more approachable and fun. And
Mhm.
I vibe with that. So I don't know.
Yeah, similarly for me, like I'm not a big fan of Starbucks. One, it's super expensive. I don't think that the coffee is all that good either. I mean, just me personally. Um, but locally here we have Tim Hortons, and I absolutely love Tim Hortons, Canadian franchise. Really, really good coffee in my opinion. It feels, I don't want to say quite like as Dutch Bro, right? But
Mhm.
it feels more small town to me. Like it's franchise, but like it feels more personal when I walk in there. And
Yeah.
that's the type of vibe I appreciate. Yeah, for sure.
This is okay. So we'll get to this part about does your brand repel people? But this is part of, and if you're a Starbucks lover, like it's cool. You can still listen to our podcast. Like we don't not like you. But there is something about the Starbucks vibe that as over the years, they've continued to, whether intentionally or accidentally, develop their brand.
Mhm.
They are putting themselves in a place that repels people, right? Like whatever. So, okay. So here's the next question though. Is it bad to have a brand that repels people? Because then in turn, it also attracts people. Like if let's just jump to that part of the conversation. Is that
Mhm.
good or bad?
I mean, I would take that as a positive. I think knowing what I know now, there was certainly a time where not even that long ago, where I wanted everybody to like me, right? But
Mm-hmm.
once you get to a point in business where you recognize that you are looking for a certain type of person to buy your products and services, right? There are rules to this thing.
Yeah.
And so if you are doing it right, you will be repelling the people that are not for you.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think there's actually a marketing technique behind it back again when I was in college many moons ago. My one of the jobs I had was actually with Red Bull. So it was back when they were just starting to break into the scene. Red Bull gives you wings, right? And
Mhm.
they could not, fun fact, they could not get on college campuses because college campuses oftentimes had contracts with either Coca-Cola products or Pepsi Cola products, as most restaurants do, all the things. Same with college campuses. And so all the vending machines were, Coca-Cola products at Rutgers, which is where I went. And so the way Red Bull got on campus in a legal way was they hired brand ambassadors. And they literally gave us these super cool, like cooler bags that we wore. And we carried around a dozen cold Red Bull with us everywhere we went all day long. And we just offered them to people at, waiting at the bus stop. You offer someone a Red Bull. You're in class, give someone a Red Bull, whatever. Your job was just to offer people a Red Bull, get them to take a sip, and then say, do you love it or hate it? And make them make a decision. And then, of course, ask them why. And then it became like the whole, like, well, did you taste Red Bull? Well, no, well, gosh, it was disgusting. Well, I want to taste it. Where's the girl with the Red Bull? Right. And it got Red Bull onto campuses because now all the kids are trying it and tasting it. And now, yeah, they can't get it at the vending machine, but they can get it at the gas station on the corner. They
Mhm.
can get it, and it's how they actually broke into campuses. And then from there, they were like, all these kids are buying Red Bulls. Why don't we bring a Red Bull truck to your next football game? Let us just park it on the side. We're not breaking into contracts. No,
Right.
we're just gonna have a Red Bull thing.
Yeah.
But like that was their whole marketing plan. This was 23 years ago, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
But it's brilliant. Like get
It's
people
brilliant.
talking.
Yeah, absolutely. Honestly though, Allison, it's a tried and true marketing method. Like You go to almost any bakery in the country, guess what they're going to do? They're going to give you a little sample of their cookie, right? A
Yep.
little piece of cake, little something. And then next thing you
Mhm.
know, you're walking out with a dozen of those bad boys.
They're hoping so anyway. Yeah, they're hoping you don't turn to the trash can and spit it out immediately. Um,
Right, right.
at least in Costco, I try to walk down the aisle if I'm going to spit it out. But um, all right, so let's come back around though. So speaking of repelling people, and ultimately you repel people because you stand out.
Mhm.
We want to stand out though, right? Because no one's doing anything new. There is not an industry that you can speak of that isn't already saturated, and yet people keep coming up with new brands, new businesses, all the things. I'm just curious what you think is actually harder about standing out. Do you think it's the emotional part of being like, if I stand out, I will repel people? Or do you think it's the creative part about actually figuring out how to stand out?
That's such a good question. I think it's going to be individualized, right, to the person, right? What you have energy for. I know for me, I certainly struggle on both sides of it. I would say, creatively, especially when it comes to visual representation outside of, me being on camera, I really struggle with the creative side of things. How do I make myself stand out without being, too over the top? Because I do want to make sure that, to your point, I am repelling the wrong people, but I also
Mhm.
don't want to be a complete asshole.
Fair,
Right. But
fair.
then, the emotional side of it is, I think that's going to impact just about anybody because as you go throughout life, people like you, people don't like you. Um, there is an emotional impact to that, right? You have to be able to deal with that as an individual.
Yeah, oh yeah, 100%. Well, you're gonna laugh at this. So I was literally having a conversation with one of my friends. We were having a strategy conversation, and I was like, "Oh, I just want to share with you this podcast that I'm doing." And I brought up our opening, and she
Yeah.
saw you, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, not what I ever pictured Bernie to look like." And it was so funny because then I showed her our podcast art, and she was like, "It could not be more perfect." Like the mustache on the mug and the glasses on the mug, and like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, you guys nailed it. So, okay, so let's go there. Let's talk about the mustaches and the glasses and our own personal branding, right? Like,
Yeah.
so you started Mustache Moments, right? When was it like you were like, oh my gosh, so this like weird part of my face is now part of my identity. I'm gonna roll with it. Like, how did that
Yeah.
happen?
It honestly, I think you know the backstory of how the mustache came to be, but it was
No, 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 no. I
no,
don't. Back up.
you
Tell
don't
the
really?
story. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's right. You weren't at Babs the first year.
No.
Okay. So, my grandfather was kind of my hero. Like he went to all my T-ball games and like even after I graduated high school and I was playing beer league softball, the man would show up to my softball games to root me on. Like he was my biggest fan, my biggest cheerleader, and I his. He also had a glorious mustache. Not quite as glorious as this, but he also had a very nice mustache and was well known for it.
Mhm.
Um, so he passed about 5, 6 years ago, had cancer, and my family asked me to give his eulogy. So obviously I was glad to do that, and I was standing at the front of the room at the podium, and I gave my eulogy. I was about halfway through, and I saw three people walk into the back of the room that I didn't know. Right, my grandpa when he passed, he was I think late 70s.
Mhm.
So you get to that age, you're like I kind of knew who his circle was, who was going to be showing up to this thing. So I finished up my eulogy. I went to the back of the room and I asked them, how did they know my grandfather? And they shared with me that they had worked for my grandfather 40 years prior at the Better Made Potato Chip Factory here in Detroit. And when they found out that he had passed, they wanted to come and pay their respects to the best boss that they ever had. And they wanted to see his big, beautiful mustache one more time.
Oh.
Yeah. And so
Mhm.
had really just started growing it out at that point, but it was in that moment I was like, well, shit, I can never take this thing off now.
Well, and I
um,
think that is true of all men with facial hair. It's like, my husband has the mustache and the beard, and it's like grave before shave thing. You know what I mean? Like he identity, it's his branding. So I actually came up with his business name back when he was a tool man. He wanted to do outlaw tools, and that name was already taken. And I was like, no, 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 babe, bearded outlaw tools.
Mm.
And that name was so well known that when I would call in for him to like various vendors or whatever, and they'd be like, a customer number and name, and I'd be like, Bearded Outlaw Tools. They'd be like, oh, you don't even need to give us his ID number. We
Oh,
know.
got it.
And it was so identifiable. So I love that. So
Yeah.
awesome. Oh, okay. Well, and just because if y'all are watching, you should know. Hold on, wait for it, wait for it. I have my own beard, my own mustache, my
Yes.
own mustache, just so that. Oh, and my own bell that just went off that I accidentally hit.
But yeah, ultimately it was a VA. One of my producers was kind of helping me out as a VA, and she was like, "You should do a video." I was like, "What do you do a video?" She's like, "Yeah, just think about it. Talk about whatever, your virtual event stuff." And I was like, "All right, I'll try it." And then all of a sudden, here I am, a year and a half later. I do it every single week, talking about something going on in my world. But yeah, frankly, I think that there's a lot of people who wouldn't know me at all if not for the mustache.
Yeah. What did you always call it, Mustache Moments, or did that name kind of come back later? But you had that from the beginning.
Yeah, no, I had that from the beginning. From the very first episode was was
Sometimes you
mustache
just
moments.
know.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Very similarly with my newsletter and how it came out to be the Caffeinated Entrepreneur. I'm so obviously coffee obsessed. Like that was just something that
no,
everybody knew. But what was funny for me is the cat eye glasses and the long lashes that became part of my brand. It was the glasses were like intentional, but not. Like
mm,
I think it's super fun. I wanted contacts desperately, mainly because I hate changing out sunglasses. And I can't have contacts because I'm an old person and I have 3 different prescriptions. And again, my husband to the rescue. He's like, "Hey, I found these super cool glasses that you can literally, they're magnetic and you can change out the frames and you can have super fun frames." And because of my mother, I'm all about like the absurd glasses. That was her thing. I have all these really fun frames. And so I would go to networking events and the first words out of somebody's mouth would be like, "Oh my gosh, I love your
love your
glasses."
glasses.
And I'd be like, "You're about to love them even more." And then I would show them how I could change them out. But the funny thing about the lashes is that I started wearing the fake eyelashes. Just because when I'm on camera, I want my eyes to look open, like I'm awake, not
Mhm.
like I've, not
Right.
got a good night's sleep. And I was on a networking mastermind call and I was like kind of blinking. And it was when I was first starting to wear lashes. And the lash started like flapping. So it wasn't, I hadn't done it well enough. And the lash was flapping, and I'm like trying to talk and like not make it obvious that there's like this lash in my eye, and it legit falls off in the middle of this mastermind while I'm talking and just lands flop next to my coffee cup. And I was like, and I'm gonna pretend that didn't just happen right now. Like, was it like a spider fell off? I don't even know what people thought. But then I wrote a review about that moment on the website of the lash company.
Mhm.
And of course, the owner of the company reads it and literally sends me an email and he's like, can we get on a call? Like, I would really like to talk about your experience. And that started this whole new thing where he gave me all these tips on how to wear my lashes and I started wearing them. And then that became this funny story that was
Mhm.
super embarrassing, but then became part of my brand. And then the next thing you know, that's what everyone knew me for was the glasses, the lashes, and the coffee, hence the caffeinated entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like, I never thought that the mustache would be my brand. And never.
So all right, let me ask you this because I think that people tend to latch on to things like, oh, coffee obsessed or whatever, and they try to attach it to their branding, but they do it in a way that, in my opinion, is gimmicky
Mhm.
rather than being like truly them. And so what for me, I guess I just think when I'm like people are being gimmicky, and I'm like, it's fake. It's not real. Like you're doing it, but it's not truly who you are. It's just something that you're latching onto. I'm
Mhm.
curious what you think about people that maybe are trying to force something that really isn't them. Are they being gimmicky or are they trying something on like a pair of shoes that may or may not fit? I don't know. Where do you
Yeah.
sit there?
I mean, I think that there's a lot of schools of thought here, right? Like if you think back to, infomercials back in the day. Like every single guy who was running the infomercial, right? The Billy Mays, the whatever,
But
super
wait,
high
there's
energy,
more.
talking really fast. That's right, be dialing. And if you call now, we'll throw in a Mark McGuire rookie card. Like they did all of those things, and it was super gimmicky, but it kind of worked for them at the
Yeah.
time. And so I think that a lot of people do try those things on. I mentioned earlier, like for me, I sometimes, and because I'm in virtual a lot, I come a little bit more over the top, right? I want people to see that energy level. And I think other people see that that works for them, whatever that
Hmm.
thing is. And so they're going to try it on and try it out. But in some cases, it seems very disingenuous. Like it's just you feel the gimmickiness. It feels like it's a bait and switch. It feels like there's something weird going on there.
Hmm.
I think gimmicks do have a place, but it's kind of trendy stuff usually. Like it has a shelf life. I guess is what I'm
Yeah.
trying.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, and it's one of the reasons personally that I always struggled with like Instagram and Reels and growing myself over on that platform because it was always about jumping on the trend. And maybe that's where I struggle so much with that idea of like trying to latch onto something that really isn't you, but you see working for others. So that was one of the big things that I absolutely hated about trying to grow on Instagram. When I was on that platform several years ago, one of the things I was taught was figure out what's trending and then do that thing because then the algorithm likes you. And I was like, but I don't want the algorithm to like me. I want people to like me. And then I had to realize that I didn't want all people to like me, right? Because when I was trying to do that, right, I wasn't necessarily focused on the algorithm, but I was just focusing on getting as many followers as possible. We all want to grow the vanity metrics, right?
Mhm.
I found that I was trying to look like all the other online business managers in the space. That's what I was told. Like, go follow all these other people, see what they're doing, and then do it for yourself as well, and whatever. And for me, it wasn't that it was disingenuous or fake, but it was so like meh. Like I was just like everybody else. I was
Yeah.
mediocre. I blended into the noise and I didn't stand out. And this was before all the caffeine entrepreneur stuff happened. Um, and I was afraid to do something different because I was being told to do what everyone else was doing, but I also found that I wasn't getting noticed. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know if you've experienced that, if you kind of had the mustache thing right off the bat, but
Yeah, I mean,
definitely an issue I had.
I guess I got lucky in that I had this as a differentiator, and it wasn't anything on purpose, right? Quite frankly, other people made it my brand, right? I didn't intentionally do it; other people did. Um, but I think that you're trying to copy what all the other fish in the ocean are doing. You're going to look like
Mhm.
just the same as every other fish in the ocean, and you're
Right.
not going to separate yourself. So I think that there is some value in taking best practices, right, and bringing them into your own world,
Mhm.
figuring out what works for you. But to think that you can just look at another online business manager, another coach, another strategist, another producer, and say, I'm going to do what they do, except put my name where theirs is,
Mhm.
you're not going to stand out.
No, 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 especially because it can't really be you. It's one of those, this not bossy, just aggressively helpful tagline that I have. I know a lot of people that actually every time someone sees that picture or they read my tagline and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I have that notebook that says that, or I have that t-shirt that says that, or I want that t-shirt. That's
Yeah.
exactly whatever." And I'm like, "Cool. Like I didn't invent that phrase. Everybody else can have it. But for me, it is my brand. Like, and to your point, I didn't assign it to myself. I had a client assign it to me when they legit told me that they quote hired me to be their boss.
Yeah.
And that's when the not bossy, just aggressively helpful thing came. And then when I started using it, people were like, "Oh, that is so you, Allison. In a
Hmm.
nutshell, it could not be anyone else." So I'm like, everyone else wants the t-shirt, has the t-shirt, wears the, whatever. And I'm like, that's good. But I've internalized that bad boy. Like it's me through and through.
Right. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, and once you got it figured out though, that's when it starts to get fun because you really can lean into it and it is you and it's fun to just be yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. So with that, I will say this though. There have been times where I've wondered, am I a bit too not bossy, just aggressively helpful, right? Like, and we've talked about this before, we're on our Friday meetings. And I mean, you're playing music and I'm always I'm always dancing. The shoulders are always moving. And I always have like a personal win I want to share. Or I always have a thought that I want to bring to the round table. And in the moment, I'm being super genuine. I'm not trying to garner attention. I'm not trying to be over the top, but I will not lie. There have been weeks afterwards where I'm like, maybe I was over the top today and I should have turned it down, but it's too late because I already did the thing. And I'm like, what are people thinking about me right now? I can't help it. Like it runs through my mind.
Yeah. Yeah, we're all going, I think we all have a little bit of self-consciousness about us, right? You know, and we want to be liked,
Yeah.
generally speaking, but I don't think that there's any reason ever to apologize for someone being truly themselves. And I think that that is something that you do very well, Allison. I don't ever feel like you're not being genuinely you, even when you are a little bit over the top. Uh, because
By being
that's just you.
genuinely annoyingly me is the question. Like, is annoying in there?
Well,
That's, and
I don't think that's
I know that you would tell me. I know that John would tell me after and be like,
yes, John
listen,
would definitely tell you.
poor John, we're just gonna throw him under the bus. So many episodes. He should
Right.
never listen. Um, yeah, for
Or
sure.
we need to
So
bring them on one time.
have you ever consciously watered yourself down? Like I've often thought I should have, but I didn't.
Mhm. I think for me, it's more the opposite. I always feel like I do have to come a little bit more over the top. I have to bring a little bit higher level of energy, because I think my general demeanor is generally a calmer level, a little bit more steady. So if I'm trying to engage with people, I'm going to add extra.
Mhm.
And I always wonder, did I add enough?
Ah,
Not, am I too much? Am I doing enough to engage my audience, to communicate with the people I'm trying to?
yeah. Which again is why I think that our dynamic works so
It
much
works.
because you tone down my over the top and
Yeah,
I give
yeah.
some boost to to what otherwise might be flat.
Yeah, a
So
little extra espresso.
exactly. Always. Absolutely.
So, Allison, I think one of the big points here that, we've kind of danced around is that you don't necessarily need a brand new idea. You need to filter your ideas through yourself, right? Kind of like,
Mhm.
the civet. You got to send it through you, your voice, your process, your story. You got to make it you. So for those of you listening, if you've been holding back because you're afraid of being cringy or misunderstood, that's probably the exact ingredient that's going to make you really memorable. The goal is not to be for everyone, right? The goal is to be as unmistakable to the right people as you can be. So I guess in the context of coffee, same beans, different story. Give it your Kopi Luwak twist and let the market decide.
So, guys, thanks for listening. Keep showing up, keep taking the next step because the caffeine is strong.
And so are you.